Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, hopefully you can hear me alright. I think this might be the first vlog I've done inside the car since all the new stuff, and that's actually what I'm going to take you over today, or go over today, is exactly what happened to the car, or what I had done to the car while I was at Johnny Boost. So let's get right to it. Alright, so kind of what I'm going to do with this video, try to structure it as best as I can, say what I was supposed to do whenever I took it to Johnny's and what actually ended up happening. Just to skip right to it, you might hear it in the background a little bit. There's still a idle issue when I got it back that I wasn't aware of until it started happening once I got it back. So might be the IAC needs to be rewired. That kit is actually supposed to be here by now, but they accidentally shipped it to Johnny instead of me. So anyway, it might be idling a little bit high. I'm actually on my way to get E85 because I've got, on the way back from the cruise we just did over to West Palm Beach for the Cars and Coffee, I tried to time it to where I wouldn't have that much gas when I came back, but I'm sitting at a little bit over a quarter tank, so I'm just going to go ahead and make the drive to our gas station, which is the one that has the 85, which is about 38 miles away. So I'm just going to be kind of romping it as much as I can on the way there, and hopefully I'll end up with an empty tank when I get there. So anyway, what was supposed to happen, and you've probably seen it from a couple other videos, basically I bought a parts car that had a lot of new stuff on it and some old stuff that I found out, but it had a brand new 5731 Precision and AGP manifold, AGP 3-inch O2 housing. Also had some 1200, which I found out later were probably AGP injectors. Had a Boomba fuel rail. Also BC coilovers with the camber plates. So those were going on. I'm looking at my notes because there's just so much stuff. I had I got the wiper cowl from him. I got his trans mount bracket, which basically just cuts it off and makes it a little bit cleaner. I'll show you a picture of that. I had my valve cover done. I had the turbo done, of course, by Joseph Customs. I had all that stuff powder coated. And I had bought a intake from him at the SRT showdown. So he had his 4-inch intake that we had to put on, and also his wiper cowls. And I think, oh yeah, I had a power steering pressure switch that I just said, while you're at it, just go ahead and put it on. Oh yeah, and I also had the needswings 3-inch downpipe with the cutout as well. Alright, so everything started off okay. Dropped the car off with the parts, and he went ahead and did the turbo install first, and it went relatively smoothly. There was a couple things he had to do, which is why I'm glad I had him do this, because I was going to try to tackle it myself, but I'm really glad I didn't, just because of how much stuff we ended up doing. He had to do a new oil feed for the turbo. He had to tap cross-threaded stuff in the wastegate holes and in the manifold, and then he had to make the wastegate holes fit the tighter bolt spacing on the manifold. The charge pipe actually ended up being all messed up. I'll show you a picture of that. So he had to modify the charge pipe, and then he also had to make custom brackets to bolt up the lower charge pipe because it wasn't even bolted up. I'll show you some pictures of those as well. Needed a new turbo drain tube, drain fittings, and I think that's what he ran across as far as the turbo install goes. Then whenever he got to got underneath the car, he noticed that the bolts on the oil pan weren't even, like, half of them were loose. It was leaking oil. I mean, I checked the oil. It did lose some oil, but it wasn't like leaking in my driveway or anything that I could see. But yeah, so he said the bolts were loose, because we ended up deciding to do the timing chain, not timing chain. We ended up cutting the balance chain, and then so he got a new oil pan gasket, made sure all the bolts were tight. You know, just going off on that, like when he had the car the first time, he was telling me that the tensioner was loose, the cam seals were in backwards, the timing was off a couple teeth. You know, so there was just a lot of stuff that was just half-assed with the car. But when he started to build the fuel kit, or you know, what happened, I think I got a picture. I'll show you what my old engine used to look like. The fuel line was ran kind of like right over the cam gears, and it was just like zip tied, like barely an inch above the cam gears, and I just didn't like that. So I asked him, hey man, is there any way you could just redo that, you know, fuel setup? And of course, when we got down to it, there wasn't enough line, you know, so he's like, well, if you really want me to do that, I'd probably have to do some new lines and blah, 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 blah. And then while we were at it, he's like, by the way, this never had a fuel pump rewire. You know, if you want to do that, this, and just one thing, you know, went to another. And, you know, we ended up just putting in a 450 fuel pump, actually doing the rewire kit, running all new lines, getting a new fuel regulator, because we tried to use the old fuel regulator, but it was stripped out, and I'll show you some pictures of that. So he ended up redoing the whole fuel system, which I'll show you some pictures of that as well, and getting it ready for E85. So that's when we just decided, I was like, hey, how much would it be to just make this thing ready for E85? And it wasn't that much more. So I was like, you know what, just do it. Yeah, and also had him do the, I got the watt box and the boost box, of course, have you seen from the other videos. He was going to install that, and I got the kinetic harnesses for that. Well, he got that all installed and then said the watt box didn't work. So the boost box was fine, but he could not connect to the watt box. It just wouldn't power on. So I got it back without having the watt box, but I had to buy another watt box. I just bought it brand new. I bought it off of, I got mine secondhand off of Facebook Marketplace, and I guess it just didn't work, so I gotta get with that person. But anyway, so we ran into that too. At this point, I probably have to consult my list to see what else. Oh yeah. Then while he was in there, he said my control arm bushings were shot, and I was like, well, might as well just do the whole energy suspension kit. If he's going to be doing this and that, he's going to be doing the coilovers, so he's going to be right there with the end links and everything. So I was like, hey, just go ahead and do the, you know, what you're going to be at with the energy suspension. Just do all that stuff, and that way he's got the control arm bushings in there, which, by the way, was one of the best things. I'm glad I made that decision. This car just handles so much better. So I got the full energy suspension bushing kit in there as well. Alright, I think I've relatively covered everything, I think, that was on the list. You know, I probably mentioned I gave him the valve cover and all that stuff to put on while he was there. Well, anyway, I got the car back and it was running great. So I just basically right now the only thing that I'm fighting is the idle problem, which he said he had a little bit of trouble with the IAC when he plugged it in from doing the rewire. He had to zip tie the connector really tight, because he said it was, you know, it would do the same thing. It would kind of idle wonky for him. So, but he told me about it, but I was just like, you know, I'll mess with it whenever I get it back. You know, at this point, it'd almost been a month. So I just figured that wasn't something that he had to bother with. You know, I could just take care of it. So went ahead and got the car back. And 90% of the time it runs fine, and then every once in a while it'll just either idle a little high, or it'll, you know, go up and down and bounce around. So anyway, got the IAC rewire kit on the way, so hopefully that's what it is. But for the pictures, you know, I also asked him if he could, you know, kind of tuck things away a little bit nicer than they were, which of course he did. So it works out great now. I'm really enjoying the car, and I can't wait to get the E85 on it, which I'm sure you guys can as well. So I'm on the way there now. It's like I got to get on this thing a little bit more because I'm hardly wasting any gas. But anyway, maybe I'll throw in a couple E85 hits at the end of this video. I've got the base map file with me right now, so all I got to do is program it into the gas station, fill it up, and we'll go from there. So anyway, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that. Like the video if you did, and stick around for the next couple videos. They're going to be good. Catch you on the next one, guys. Well, so now I just drove 45 minutes to the gas station, had lunch, and now I'm out on some backwoods ass road trying to run my friggin' gas out, and I forgot to load the tune onto my Diablo Sport. I started to think about that on the way up here, and I was like, no, you did that, because I remember seeing the file on my computer, because Nigel sent it to me, and why wouldn't I upload it to my Diablo Sport? Well, I didn't do it. So now I've done a decent job of running my tank down, and it was all for nothing. So the only thing I can say is I still got E85. I've got 20 gallons of it at home. I just figured I might as well drive up while I'm getting rid of the gas, and then I could fill up the car, and I'd still have the 20 gallons at home, but whatever, because as long as I can get it done. It just sucks. Now I gotta go to the bathroom, and I'm like in the middle of nowhere. Like, I straight up, I've never been down this road before. It's in the straight up boonies. Like, I went through some areas where I was like, what the heck did I just turn into? But anyway, I'm a friggin' idiot.